Mr. President, I rise today. I came down here to really discuss, and I know the presiding officer cares greatly about this issue also, and that's protecting and preserving Social Security. I have a piece of legislation I call the Protecting and Preserving Social Security Act, which I introduced Tuesday. The bill backs up our country's long-standing guarantee that Social Security is there not just for today's generation, but for our grandchildren and their grandchildren. The bill has two major components. One changes the way cost of living increases are calculated to make our Social Security benefits more accurate and fair. The other component adds decades of solvency to the program by asking wealthier Americans to pay just a little more. Today's COLA, cost of living adjustment, does not take into account the increasing and rising medical costs faced by seniors or the disabled. This means their Social Security checks lose value over the years because costs go up more quickly than the benefits. But there's a solution. And again, I credit the presiding officer because he talks about this a great deal in caucus and here on the floor. But there is a solution. There's been around for years. In the 1980s, the Bureau of Labor Statistics developed what is known as a CPI-E, the Consumer Price Index for elderly consumers. The index more accurately reflects the specific needs and purchases of seniors, unlike the current formula. My bill requires the Social Security Administration to use the CPI-E to calculate the Social Security benefits. The second goal of Protecting and Preserving the Social Security Act is to make the system fair and more financially solvent. It does so by making sure everyone, even the wealthiest Americans, pays into the program all year long. A lot of people don't know what the current law does. Under the current law, contributions to Social Security will be capped once a person's income hits $113,700 throughout the year. That's it. No matter how much more they earn, they stop contributing to Social Security for the rest of the year. So let me make sure that's clear. An example I like to use is us here in Congress. We make $174,000. When we hit $113,000 of income, which is about mid-September, end of September, we no longer, after that point, contribute to Social Security. So that means anyone over $113,000, wherever they hit that during the year, after that fact, they no longer contribute to Social Security. And to me, again, this is an unfair system. So my bill gradually lifts that cap. It also says the more you put into the program, the more you will eventually get out of it. We're working with the Social Security actuary to get a final numbers, but it's fair to say by lifting the income cap on contributions, this bill will extend the solvency of Social Security Trust Fund for generations. We estimate at least a minimum of 2 generations. Mr. President, a few weeks ago, back home in Anchorage, I joined a group of seniors. I presented this piece of legislation to them at the Anchorage Senior Center, and she says, as she loves to describe herself, a young woman from Alaska stood up, Beverly Moore, 81-year-old Korean War Navy veteran. Beverly was there because the majority of her modest income comes from Social Security. And she wanted to know how this proposal will strengthen that lifeline for her and thousands of Alaskans. In fact, 1 in 9 Alaskans receive Social Security. With my state's population of those 65 and older expanding rapidly, Social Security will continue to play a key role in supplementing a decent living. If Social Security was not there for the elderly Alaskans, 1/5 of them would live below poverty. It's vital for our state. It's vital for all our states and for this whole country. Mr. President, I have no illusions that this bill is not going to pass in this final weeks of the 112th Congress, but I wanted to get it into the mix. I wanted to make sure that people get the bigger point. And again, I would say to my presiding officer, and he says this well, and I know my friend here from Oregon who's on the floor also, as we talk about the deficit, and this is taking center stage right now, we want to highlight one very clear thing. Social Security has not contributed, is not part of, and never will contribute to the deficit. So those that like to meddle in it and try to combine it into this deficit talk are just playing games with our seniors and disabled in this country. It is a separate issue. It is not impacting the federal deficit. And it should be not, and I know some like to meld it in because then they want to talk about cuts, and their favorite line is privatize, which really means seniors and disabled will get a lot less in the future. They will not get the guarantee that they paid into. Also, I want to give credit to Congressman Ted Deutsch, who has a similar measure on the House side. Both of our plans, we know, may be difficult to pass, but we're going to continue to push forward on it. And we won't be alone. A coalition of over 300 national and state organizations have already endorsed our bill. Together, they represent 50 million Americans. They are on board because this bill modernizes Social Security without cutting benefits. And let me repeat that, because I know some will always say, oh, there must be some benefit reduction here. Let me repeat that again. Social Security, it will enhance Social Security. It will ensure it continues without cutting benefits. And because the program plays a vital role in the economy and security of America's working families. Most of us, including myself, started contributing to Social Security as teenagers. And those that send me emails, and I just read one recently, we do pay Social Security here as members of Congress. I know people don't think we do. We do. I got one last night. I saw one on a newspaper blog. I should inform my press people. I responded to that without their knowledge, but I wanted to make sure that individual knew we do. We pay. I've been paying since I was a teenager, and I still pay today. But it's important. When people get to retirement or some tragedy strikes, Social Security is there to help make ends meet. I'm proud of the leaders of the past who have fought and had the foresight and wisdom to create Social Security. Nowadays, some in Washington like to call Social Security an entitlement. But if by that it means it is a government handout, they are flat wrong. Americans paid for and earned their Social Security, and the benefits are modest. No one is getting rich off of Social Security, but it does provide the important foundation. The values that underlie Social Security are American values. It rewards hard work. The longer you work, the more you earn under Social Security, the higher your benefits. The program reflects the best of America: hard work, personal responsibility, human dignity, and caring for our parents, our children, our spouses, and neighbors, and ourselves. It also assures that those who work long and hard at low and moderate wages receive a larger return on their contribution. It is financially prudent and conservative. Regardless, many people worry that Social Security is going to be broke. But here are the facts based on the annual report of Social Security Board of Trustees, which, to remind everybody, we get that annual report, a section of it. We see it every year. It projects the program's financial status over the next 75 years. The latest trustees report issued in April says Social Security ran a surplus of $69 billion last year. The report also says the program can continue to pay all benefits on time and in full through the year 2033. After that, its shortfall is modest, but it is manageable shortfall. And as I said a minute ago, it should not trigger talk of benefit cuts, raising the retirement age, or privatization. Instead, the modest revenue increases in my bill will go into effect gradually, make Social Security solvent for decades longer, all without adding to the deficit. We can do this. We can protect and preserve the promise of Social Security for generations to come. I ask my colleagues to join me in co-sponsoring this bill. Mr. President, I yield the floor.